Hello and welcome to Luxa. It's a podcast where we gleefully taunt the mundane, butcher the Latin and most other languages, and we also discuss a variety of occult topics. I'm Luxa, and if you're hearing this, then this show, and magic for that matter, is for you, if you want them. There are a lot of different ways to be more free, and using magic or making space for a spiritual practice in your life can be one of them. As always, I don't speak for anybody but myself. Others can, will, and should disagree sometimes. How would we ever learn anything if we all agreed all the time after all? And like any reasonable person should be, I am willing to revise my opinions based on new evidence. Alright, well, the stars have again aligned, and I am very pleased to present you with this special bonus episode of the show, in which a few members of the Green Mushroom Council and I will be taking you on a tour of the shared astral space and astral temple that is associated with the Green Mushroom Hyphosigil project. Experimenting with this type of work is something that I've been curious about for a while, and it's been very fun and interesting to see how this imaginal space has grown and come alive as we've worked with it. Before we get into it, I would like to say thank you so much for listening to the Luxa podcast. Your support and hearing from you, it really means the world to me, and I really appreciate it. If you feel like supporting my work, you can do it on Patreon at Luxa Podcast, and thank you so much to everybody that's already doing that. I have decided to offer the first 20 people to join to take a bibliomancy break with me, and there are still a few spots left for that as of the time of this recording, if you are interested. For folks listening who have not yet heard about the Green Mushroom Project, which is a large-scale group working that you can be a part of, I will play an informational message about it before we start the Astral tour. You can also watch a video of this on the show's new YouTube channel. Big thanks to Dave for gathering all those cool images of things that people have done in the workings with the Green Mushroom Hyphosigil, and for putting that video together. Much appreciated. There will be a link to that, as well as lots of other info about the project and other cool shit in the show notes for this episode, so don't forget to check those out. Okay, so just real quick, for those who are unfamiliar with the term astral space or astral plane or whatever, here is one definition. There are many definitions and many different ideas about this topic. Here's one. According to cult teachings, the astral plane can be visited consciously through astral projection, meditation, and mantra, near-death experience, lucid dreaming, or other means. Individuals that are trained in the use of an astral vehicle can separate their consciousness in the astral vehicle from the physical body at will. So thank you, Wikipedia. There's obviously a lot more to say about that, but I hear a lot of people disagreeing about some of the specifics of how all of this might work or might be configured. There are several different views about this based on different traditions or different individual experiences. Here's my opinion. While it's certainly interesting to consider all of these things, I'm not sure it's worth getting emotionally invested in any idea about what the, quote, true nature of this stuff might be. And for that reason, I sometimes use the phrase imagination zone to describe this idea, because it doesn't have any of the baggage of like historical associations and other stuff that the term astral plane might carry. Plus it sounds like pretty like stupid and silly, which is silliness is like a really excellent deterrent to pretension. So there's a fun life hack for you there. Anyway, a note about accessibility too. Entering into the, quote, imagination zone is very easy for some people, and some folks might get all sorts of like visual images or other impressions when they do this type of work. everybody's going to have a different level of aptitude when they start playing around with this stuff. And like most things, repeated practice and, getting into it over and over again is going to help build up that aptitude. There's also something called aphantasia, which is actually not entirely uncommon. Okay, so Wikipedia notes that aphantasia is the inability to visualize mental images. That is, not being able to picture something in one's mind. Many people with aphantasia are also unable to recall sounds, smells, or sensations of touch. The phenomenon was first described by Francis Galton in 1880, but has since remained relatively unstudied. Interest in the phenomenon renewed after the publication of a study in 2015 conducted by a team led by Professor Adam Zeman of the University of Exeter, which also coined the term aphantasia. Research on the condition is still scarce. So that's interesting, right? I have met several people who have aphantasia, and actually all of them are fellow magicians, and quite competent ones. I'm noting this because I don't want anybody hearing this to feel like anything is out of their reach, magic-wise, due to some kind of perceptual difference that they may have with other people. One of the people on this recording actually has aphantasia, and the fact that they were willing to participate in this exercise was really helpful, because we all want this to be as accessible as possible. So if you're somebody who does not visualize, see if you might instead get something which is more abstract, conceptual impressions perhaps, as you listen. I would encourage anybody who plays around in the Green Mushroom astral space to keep a record of what you find there in your journal. Me and the other members of the Green Mushroom Council would love to hear about your experiences. Alright, so big thanks to Joy the Sporceress, Arspex Omniopticon, and Dave Ardrey from the Unearthing Paranormalcy podcast for joining me in this journey, and to Miguel for being willing to participate even though tech issues got in the way, as they are wont to do. We'll get them next time. I'm really lucky to be working with so many cool people. You can join the Green Mushroom Council on the Faithblind Council podcast Discord server. Don't forget to check out their show, which has a ton of great practical stuff about chaos magic and other cool topics. Also, you can listen to Unearthing Paranormalcy podcast for all kinds of occult and spooky fun. You can find me hanging out on Discord. You can email me at luxoccultpod@gmail.com or message me on Instagram at luxoccultpod and follow the Green Mushroom Project at Hyphosigil. I would like to thank Headspace and Q Varro for producing the music which accompanies the recording of this exercise. The next regular episode of Lux Occult features an interview with Q Varro that I'm super excited to share. And that second episode in the series about sound and magic will be out just as soon as it's ready, which hopefully will be soon. Don't forget to check out Q's new album, Daffodil 11. If you would prefer to hear the recording of this exercise without musical accompaniment, there will be a link in the show notes to where you can listen to it in that configuration. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and play this info message about the project, and then we can go ahead and get into our astral journey. Hey there, this is Luxa, host of the Lux Occult podcast, here to tell you about the Green Mushroom Project. This is a large-scale, ongoing, remote group working that you can be a part of, which was created to forge bonds of connection and friendship as we regain ground. The Green Mushroom is a hyphosigil, hypho means web, with which we have established a network of green-aspected healing and friendship magic that practitioners can draw upon to work acts of healing, repair, and abundance. The mushroom is also a saprotroph, meaning that it eats dead stuff, and its symbolic connection with death can help to dissolve trauma to make room for new growth. Another thing the hyphosigil is about is helping people find agency through using magic so they can make positive changes in their lives. The easiest way to start working with the energy of the green mushroom sigil is to incorporate it into your practice or do some art or other creative project with it. This was designed to be accessible to practitioners of any experience level. Once you've connected with the web, you can start to work acts of healing, abundance, and repair. A simple way to begin this is to imagine the mushroom spores, little glowing specks of green magic, collecting where they are needed and doing their work. You can work with the energy of the Hyphosigil's web in any way that makes sense to you, as long as it's within the intent of the project. You know, doing chill shit. Just please don't be a dick. There are built-in countermeasures. So far, we've had a lot of really positive results with the project. If you feel like hanging out on Fungal Friday to chat about your practice or your work with the sigil, or maybe you feel like participating in one of the remote group rituals, join the Green Mushroom Council on the Faith Blind Council podcast Discord server. With the symbolism of the mushroom, there is certainly an inherent dick joke, and we like to mess around and have a good time. Laughter, after all, can be the best medicine. Maybe you don't feel like participating in this way, but you feel like you could still use a bit of extra love or support or inspiration or anything like that. If that's the case, then you are more than welcome to tap into what we've created. You see, since magic isn't a zero-sum game, your working with the web will help to strengthen it in much the same manner as it is intended to strengthen all of those who interact with it. If we're a forest or a stand of trees, then the Green Mushroom Hyphosigil is like the vascular arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi, which works in sometimes unseen ways to provide support and connection. So, if you're into it, join us in whatever way works for you. You can join the Discord server or write the sigil in your journal as a reminder to practice good self-care or whatever. You can draw the sigil on an egg or a banana and do some breakfast magic. Maybe make some art or music or whatever your deal is. Maybe try out some other creative thing you're curious about. You can share pictures of your work with the sigil by using the Green Mushroom hashtag and follow the project on Instagram at Hyphosigil. You can also join in as we light a candle with the sigil on Friday at midnight Eastern US time, as we say the following words to remind ourselves to resist. Resist by maintaining sovereignty of the self. Resist by maintaining love of the self. Resist by maintaining fierce loyalty to love and pleasure. Resist with acts of radical kindness. Focus on the path to better times. Hope to see you on this or the astral plane. Much love. All right, well, I just want to say thank you all so much for being willing to join me for this experimental exercise where we will be exploring the shared astral space associated with the Green Mushroom Project. This is something that we've done a little bit before, but we're sort of hoping to not pin it down, but at least give like a robust enough introduction that others can have a welcome or a tour or whatever, like a kind of an inroad into it. So I've got some people here with me today. I should probably introduce myself first. I am Luxa Strada, host of the Luxa Cult podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I am super, super honored to be joined by my compatriots here today, the first of which is Joy.
Hey, I have no idea how to introduce myself, so I'll just call myself a Sporcerous.
All right, hell yeah. So just real quick, like, how did you first get interested in this project?
I heard your podcast and I was like, hell yeah, somebody who curses as much as I do, I'm for it.
Fuck yeah. All right, hell yeah. And what about you, Arspex?
I honestly picked up on it from the Faith Blind server and went and found your podcast shortly after, and just the idea of the distributed work really spoke to me.
Oh yeah. And I'm sorry, I should have had you introduce yourself first too. Could you
I'm Arspex, and I am a competent theorist and a passable practitioner.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Love it. People might be familiar with Dave Ardrey from he's one of the wonderful host of the Unearthing Paranormalcy podcast.
Hi, I'm Dave. I'm a druid, and I got involved in this project really early on, like in its infancy and its creation. As the
Absolutely.
first, one of the first ever kind of big group workings I've ever done, and I've learned a lot over these past few months working with it and working with everybody else. It's been a great pleasure in doing that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've learned so much from working with everybody, and yeah, Dave has been with this project really before it sort of even came from the realm of the imagination, or, you know, you saw it down to this world of Malkuth or whatever you want to call it. Like, so yes, so glad to have all of you with me here today. So what we're going to do is we're going to be exploring this astral space, hopefully in a way that will make it accessible to others to explore themselves. I think it would be cool if we could start out, though, you know, reaffirming this sort of idea of the project about like resistance and stuff, and like just whatever that means to people. But so I think that before we begin, we should go ahead and say the words and then light the candle with the green mushroom sigil. Resist.
Resist.
Resist by
Resist
maintaining sovereignty of the self. Resist by maintaining love of the self. Resist by maintaining fierce loyalty to love and pleasure. Resist with acts of radical kindness. Focus on the path to better times. All right, fuck yeah. Well, I'm so excited to be conducting this exercise. I'm going to try to take my energy down a couple notches because this is technically going to be a sort of meditative thing. So I think it would probably be cool to like start out taking a couple like deep breaths and thinking about like, you know, the ground, like grounding ourselves, like thinking about this like mycelial network that exists below us and how that connects with like these spores that float above us, and then the mushroom itself, which exists in like the liminal space between the earth and the sky. As we find ourselves in this astral space, we're traveling towards the mushroom. I can smell the smell of rain. It's an outdoor smell of damp earth. There's a cool breeze on my skin. I can sense the protective energy of the mushroom ahead of me. What What about you guys?
I feel the sunlight and the wind on the cap of the mushroom. I feel the soil and the water on the mycelium, the firmness of the stem connecting them.
I can really smell the richness of the soil, and I'm noticing like forest for plants that are growing near the mushroom, like some bloodroot and some wild ginger and maybe some ghost pipe, which is stuff that you find in the shade in the woods around mushrooms. It's kind of like a symbiotic extension. And I can hear insects in the soil.
As we near the mushroom, we see the door. It's a place that we can go inside. When I step close to the door, it opens to me. I can see the green mushroom sigil on it. I see the antechamber that leads beyond. And I see the guardian of the space. How does the guardian appear to you?
It's all shine and glare.
Do you have any emotional impressions from it?
It feels female to me, but she's really, really, really tall. Like taller than the mushroom somehow. And has to bend over inside the mushroom. But at the same time, it's like she's constantly shifting form.
I feel invited and I feel welcome.
I feel welcome too. Let's go inside. So, when we get into the sort of main floor of this area, this is in some ways like a representation of the most basic aspect of the project, right? Like, this is a social area, this is a tavern where we can hang out, joke around, have a good time. You know, this is a sort of expression of that aspect of this project, I think. And we're entering into this like tavern space, and you can see that there's tables, people have heard music here. There's a bar where there's a variety of delicious beverages available for your enjoyment. And there are servitors associated with the project that are here to help you out. So, stepping into this tavern area, this like social atmosphere, what are your impressions?
It's a happy place.
I feel overjoyed.
I feel encouraged to, I don't really know how to put it into words, like encouraged to go after like my own true self, my true will, true nature, whatever you want to call it. It's like a life force that's radiating through the entire area, and it feels warm.
I agree. Yeah, it's like life is its own specific type of fire. It's not fire, it's a different thing, but yeah.
It's like a purifying fire.
So in this area, you can stop and you can hang out. You can look around at the atmosphere. The bar is made, well, many people have seen it as being made of wood, with like woodier mushrooms growing out of it. It might appear differently to you, though. The service here is excellent. I mean, the people here are here to help. And towards the back of the room, there is a shared altar. And this is a place where we can come to like leave things that are symbolic of our goals or of ourselves. Maybe a sentimental item that we would like to add that resonance to this project. But the other things that are on this altar are gifts from the project. They're tools. They're symbolic elements that are there for you to use. And as you walk towards the back of the tavern, towards this large table where this altar is set up, you can see that there's a variety of objects, all different kinds of things. And there's one of them that calls out to you. This is a tool. This is something that the project is offering you to help. Does anybody see what that might be for them? For me, I see a key. It's a large key. It's made of iron. It's an old-timey key, maybe to unlock a gate door. I'm thinking a lot of Hecate and the work with her and that symbol, so this is all making a lot of sense to me right now in my place, in my practice. You might find a different thing here every time you come. It doesn't have to be the same thing. It could even be the same thing that appears in a different way. There's not really any rules, so... But once you've identified that object, if you want to, you can pick it up and consider it and think about what it might mean to you. Does anybody have any impressions of what this object might be for them?
Mine is a crane bag. This one is empty, but I get the feeling that I need to fill it with something.
We know that there is a way to get to the upper area of this astral space, the dome of the mushroom, as it were. Many of us have envisioned this as a sort of beam of light, a purifying, healing energy that will sort of transform and transport us up to the higher levels of the project or of the space where we do the magical work and the study and the sort of maybe more airy aspects of things. Does anybody have any impressions about this transitional area or mechanism?
It's kind of like riding it feels like riding a puff of air up to the second floor, but it doesn't look like a puff of air. It looks like almost like a beam of light, but it's soft and it's warm.
I get similar impressions from that. Stepping into this sort of beam of light, or maybe a spiral of spores, or however it appears to you, you can feel yourself being transported upwards into the upper areas of the space. We've seen this before as a large circular hallway that leads around the perimeter of the mushroom dome. And along this hallway, there are these fractal murals. I see the patterns on the wall getting brighter, like more empowered, like glowing with kind of a green as we continue like down this space. And along this hallway, you'll see that there's a number of doors, and one of these doors leads to your own personal space. This is your own backstage room, as it were, to prepare for rituals or to find a quiet place within this kind of more communal area. Inside this room will be the things that you need to prepare for doing ritual work, or for what other ever tasks might present themselves to you. And as you're walking along this hallway, like, the door to your room will be apparent to you. And when you go inside it, what's there for you? I see a large desk and books. There's a little cot in case I need to take a nap. And there's also access to other areas. There's like a sort of hatch that I can go into and crawl through the air ducts of this infrastructure. There's a weird kind of back access element to where what's in my personal space. I'd be curious to hear what you all see in yours.
Mine definitely has a secret bookcase door. But when you step through it, it doesn't go into the room next to you. It goes into a completely different space. I find that a lot about the mushroom is not... It plays with space and time a lot. So, you know, it looks like it's 10 feet wide in the room or something, but the next time it'll be 30 or 5 or something like that. Yeah, there's an animal in my space too, and it's never the same.
Okay. So what do you think the function of this animal might be for you?
It's just a very supportive feeling entity, like just almost like an extension of the mushroom itself. Like, I feel very supported and nurtured, not like indulgently, but just very like in a practical sense. Like, you have what you need, and you may not even realize what you need until you think about what you have or what you're receiving.
What about you, Dave?
My space is my inner grove. It's a circle of trees, and just inside the trees, hovering in the air, are the symbols of the material elements in their colors and in their respective quarters. Beneath me is the forest floor, and it's marked with the symbol of spirit below. Above me is the sky, and it's marked with the symbol of spirit above. And from here I can hear the call of the birds and the wind going through the branches and the scent of the leaves and the earth and the fresh forest air. This is my sanctuary, and nothing can harm me here.
Once we're ready, spending time in this like private area, we can venture forth to the ritual space, the shared ritual space that we've created. We've talked a lot about how this project has elements of, maybe a good way to phrase it would be like earth and sky. That would be a very simple way. The spores that float around in the air, the mycelial network that exists underground. And in this actual ritual temple space, we thought about it existing in both of those realms at once. Traveling forward towards the gateway of the actual like inner sanctum, the temple area of this place, what do you envision that transitional period, that liminal point or that gateway to be like as we enter into it? What I see right now is an arch, and it's glowing, it's green, it's got fractal tendrils knotted throughout it. It's organic, but it's also constructed.
Do you get anything when you actually step through the gateway?
I feel a surge of the excitement brought by contact with the powerful area. It's like getting zapped a little bit. I feel a slight tingling on my skin. I feel invigorated. I can see the temple space beyond. I can see the mandala on the floor made up of the mushroom sigils. And through the like kind of weirdly clear ceiling, I can see like stars and galaxies. And I can see the spores floating around.
I also get the impression that time flows differently here, like very differently. Or like in, I don't know how to explain it, like overlapping waves or something. Like standing here, I can feel my hair growing like really long, really fast, but like the rest of me is not aging.
I can feel the impressions of the elemental altars that we've set up in the four corners here. It's kind of untraditional idea, but I think that it's a nice grounding. It shows up in so many different traditions. I can definitely feel that kind of nexus of power that it creates in the center of them. And I can feel the potential, like, of the space to manifest what will be needed to perform whatever work we need to do here.
The new ever of this area is very strong, and it's ready to be shaped in whichever way we will.
I can feel like a readiness here too, in this like space. Like it wants to be used. It wants us to come here and work together. It's very welcoming. It's very ready. I'm getting impressions of a lot of sort of like calming tones of like dark browns and greens with like light brown highlights, and this like transparent kind of like dome ceiling where you can see the spores floating around. You can see the astral sky. I'm getting the idea that there's like trees surrounding us in like a perimeter. Like I had gotten impressions before that these trees were almost sort of like antennae, or like they serve some kind of a purpose for the infrastructure of this ecosystem, which totally makes sense.
I've seen that too. That's funny.
Does anybody else have any impressions about this ritual area?
It's the perfect distance between above and below, left and right, north and south, however you want to look at it. It's the heart of the green mushroom. And from this heart radiates out the blessings of healing, protection, strength, creation, inspiration, and innovation.
That's so beautiful. So we know that this space exists both above and below. As we leave the ritual space, we find ourselves in the mycelial tunnels. This is the deep work of the project. This is the unseen connections between us, the potential that exists in each of us, but also in our combined forms. What can we accomplish together? What can we accomplish on our own? How do those things interact? This is also the place where we can come to unburden ourselves, to offer to the mushroom or the project things that it can feed on, but that are harming us. As we exit the ritual space, what is your impression of this underground area?
I get like fertility, not, like people think of fertility often in like its blooming form, but this is like a richness, like you could grab the walls of this place and eat it like a brownie. Like the fertility is just like, it's just almost, it's like alive. There's so much fertility here in the soil and the composting piece of the basement or whatever you want to call it. This is like where the quiet hidden magic happens. There's bones here which are like artifacts of transformation, and this is almost like it's like evidence of the void, in the way that things are birthed from nothing but potential, and this is like the staging area for that.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
It's the fertility of death. The god is slain so that the wheat can grow. The transition point between what was to what will be.
I was literally just about to say the exact same words. Hell yeah. I can feel this network stretching out. I can feel the connections like growing and seeking. But centered here, I can almost see like little lights flickering in the distance, like, distant little impressions of people's work, like with the sigil, or like their experiences and stuff. Like it's all connected down here.
Like catacombs.
I'm feeling like flickers of emotional impressions that don't feel like my own. And I feel like the hunger that's associated with living. The sort of like game rules for being alive on this planet, that reality of it. That like drive to strive and to grow.
Yeah, like life seeking to just express life.
To iterate.
Yeah.
The pattern, the plan. To express the idea. To fulfill the potential.
I have to say the coolest part about this space is that I don't know how to put it. Everything you just said is spot on, and it's like these are the things that we're taught to fear. So there's this primalcy in this space that every second for me, there's like this tension of, there's the learned response of you're supposed to feel afraid of this type of place, but it's just so natural, like it's so right. There's no fear.
Yeah, that idea of like these things calling to you that other people might be able to understand, or like, yeah, I definitely feel that here too.
It's getting an interesting overlap because I'm getting ideas of both flight and gathering, the runaway and the pull towards. It occurs to me that in the natural world, the mushroom is a psychopomp, the bridge between one side and the next.
Absolutely.
In the center of this, where all the tunnels collide and to a chamber, I see a pool.
I see a pool too, or like a well, maybe.
Me too.
But a wide one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One. Dark one. A stone around its border for me.
And for me, there's a fountain coming out of the wall into it, like a natural spring.
What do we think this pool is? I think it's a place that we can see our own reflections first and foremost. It's a place where we can learn things if we're brave enough to attempt.
Yeah, a place where we can look at our shadow or cuddle. Many traditions also speak of the waters of a well that things have to pass through between the transition from death to life.
Maybe that's that anchor here for this project, is that maybe this is just a symbolic aspect of the psychopompic nature of the project too, and the things that we can learn from thinking about that transition, or from doing necromantic work with the dead or ancestors or whatever, you know.
There's something to it that is making me think of time.
So, beyond this area, many of us have thought that there might be like these little kind of individual mini mushrooms where we can go to do our daily individual work.
Much like how upstairs you have your individual space. You know which tunnel you need to follow to get to your individual mushroom.
And I'm curious if people's individual mushrooms will mirror the space that they find in terms of like preparing for group work or whatever. Because we thought that the individual mushrooms would really be more for doing individual work with the project, which is obviously highly encouraged, and you know, everybody has access to their own personal astral mushroom, which is connected to the larger one, which is communal. Does anybody have any impressions of their personal mushroom, if it's different from what you saw in your own preparation room?
Are they personal, or are they just the one that you need for any given time?
Well, I think that if it was personal and that's what you needed, it would probably be what you needed it to be, depending on how you thought about it, of course. But for me, it will be very happy to conform to whatever configuration will be most helpful to the work I'm attempting. Even if that's just a safe chill spot or whatever. Some people have contextualized this as a little area of their own astral temple.
the difference between personal space upstairs and downstairs, quote unquote downstairs, the mini mushroom is really interesting. It's almost like external and internal. Like the study upstairs for me has an animal in it. It's more externalized. It's closer to things I do in my daily life. But the mini mushroom is like a cocoon, like where I go to just process or grow into whatever my next iteration is. It's a lot more primal, which tracks with I'll call it the basement.
My mini mushroom appears a lot like my room in the larger one, but it's more of like a place where you could stay for longer. It's not a little cot in the corner, it's a comfortable bed. There's a bookshelf of books, there's a large desk. There's a cabinet full of materia to be used. And there's a counter. It's not exactly an altar. It sort of is, though. It's like an altar that's also a lab workspace. And there's a pitcher of water. It's never empty. I can tell that this is where I can do my weird stuff.
How many Erlenmeyer flasks does your personal mushroom have?
Well, I feel like the cabinet contains an infinite supply of them. As many as I need. That's the short answer.
Yeah, mine is very internalized as well. It's kind of the place where you'd say my books and my journals and my tomes and my grimoires are. The place where I go to absorb the information and the knowledge within that stuff. The things that the outside world isn't really privy to. The things that only come out of my own mind from meditation and other exercises. I guess essentially it's the place where I also bury my secrets.
Okay. Now here in our own personal rooms, there is access to the outside world. This is a place that we can come independently of visiting the larger communal mushroom. As we exit out of our own individual mushrooms back into the larger ecology of the astral world, does anybody have any impressions about what that's like? I see, as I walk out of the little arched door in my little mushroom, it looks like it's like the sun's about to rise, like the sky is a deep blue at the top, but with brighter and brighter blues as your eye travels towards the place where the tree line hits the sky. I can see a star glowing brightly. It reminds me of Venus, which is not a star but a planet, but we still call it the morning star. So there you are. And I can smell the smell of rain again, and the smell of damp earth and leaves can hear the rustling of animals and insects. And in the distance, I can hear like the first call of like the early rising birds. And I feel invigorated, and I feel very happy.
I got early morning too. Very much like when you stumble out of a tent, like in early morning, and you're kind of hunched over and achy, but then you stand up and stretch and everything feels like a million times better. There's like this little weird adjustment period where you get your legs back.
Yeah, and the air is so crisp and cold when it hits you on your cheek that it brings you back to life immediately.
And then you have to pee.
That's why you woke up in the first place. Absolutely.
You can edit that out.
I'm not sure I want to. I think this is a great way to bring the energy back up from this exercise. So as we're leaving this mushroom area, traveling back into everyday world, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to do this strange exploration with us and to experience this wild territory that we are all discovering together. Does anybody have any final thoughts?
I'm just very grateful.
I feel very grateful too. I feel incredibly grateful for everybody participating in this project and for all of those people, seen and unseen, that have helped me along the way. And I feel fucking elated that you all have been willing to participate in this very strange exercise. So thank you so fucking much for your time and your willingness to go on this journey with me, for sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
If there's people listening right now that might be new to this idea of like what we're doing, does anybody have anything that they would like to say in regards to what we're up to, or just in general about magic, or just general advice or anything like that? Please feel free to speak your minds.
Okay, I got something.
Okay.
So much of my practice as a druid is working with the physical world. But when the entire world got shut down, it left me unsure where to go. And it was through the help of people like you that it allowed me to open myself up more to an astral plane where I could have access to anywhere in the world, despite not being able to go there.
I love that. It reminds me a lot of like stories you hear. Like I'm thinking of like Damien Eccles, like with his whole thing about he's a prisoner, but he was still free in his mind, through these magical practices and stuff. And I think that that's something that maybe we've all gotten a little bit of a taste of with all this hardship and quarantine and everything that's happened in the last year and a half or so. So yeah. maybe it's just been a year. It seems like longer. I don't know. I think that the idea of, trying to build these connections and doing this group work or whatever it is, like, just this idea of, like, supporting each other, it's been so fucking helpful for me, and I just want to, like, reiterate my gratitude to all of you to helping me make this dream a reality.
Fuck yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. This is something that is doing huge amounts, and you are the driving force of it.
But behind me is all of you. I guess it's a feedback loop. So fuck yeah. Alright, I'm gonna leave it there. This was dope. I hope you guys had a good time. I know I did, and hopefully this will be useful to people. At least one person. If one person hears it and they like it and it's useful, then I'm fucking happy. So, fuck yeah. Resist by maintaining sovereignty of the self. Resist by maintaining love of the self. Resist by maintaining fierce loyalty to love and pleasure. Resist with acts of radical kindness. Focus on the path to better times. Alright, fuck yeah. Alright, thank you so much again to Joy, Arspex, and Dave, and to everybody else participating in the Green Mushroom Project. And also, thank you so much for listening to this special episode of the Luxa Cult podcast. As always, you can send me your thoughts, questions, suggestions, or arcane revelations to luxoccultpod@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on Instagram at luxoccultpod. You can also check out my magic and art mashup bullshit on Instagram at The Mimetic Disease, and follow the Green Mushroom Project at Hyphosigil. And if you are into the show, you can support it on Patreon, or by giving it some stars or writing a review. You can tell a friend or lover about it, and you can also thank me by doing some magic to improve your life and the situation you find around you. The proverbial big picture is like one of those mosaic images made from little pictures, and every component plays its part. So what part will you play? Much love, stay strong, and stay fucking curious.